Today we're testing out skate product alternatives. So before anything, let me just say, support skater-owned companies. This list is in no way to take away from them, but rather it's for skateboarders who maybe don't have the money to afford one of these right now, or maybe for someone who doesn't have access to a local skate shop and needs one of these in a pinch, but doesn't have the time to wait for shipping. Up first, we have skater trainers versus tennis balls. So skater trainers are a product that you put on your wheels, which prevents your board from rolling around, and they're meant to make beginners feel more comfortable so they can practice tricks stationary without worrying about slipping out. Well, a few years ago, I did a review on skater trainers, and I had a lot of comments saying you can achieve the same result with some tennis balls. So the idea here is that you make a slit down about half the tennis ball, and then you can slip them right over your wheels. Well, the first thing I noticed is that your board definitely still rolls when you have tennis balls on the wheels. However, that's pretty much only when you're actively trying to push the board along, because besides that, when I actually tried tricks stationary, the board didn't really move back and forth too much. And after trying a few tricks, I actually kind of liked this little bit of wiggle room because it made landing feel a little more natural than just coming to a dead stop. Considering the fact that you can pick up some tennis balls for just a couple bucks, and the setup is relatively easy, this is definitely a viable and cheaper alternative. Up next we have skate wax versus paraffin wax. Paraffin is a type of wax used to seal jars, among other things, and you can usually find it at your local grocery store for about $6. Now you could probably find skate wax for cheaper, but considering how much comes in a box, it's actually a pretty good deal. So I've heard some good and bad things about paraffin wax, the main downsides being that it melts really easily and it's really flaky. And these are both definitely true, but if you're in a pinch and you don't have any other wax, then it can definitely work. One other thing I did notice about the paraffin is that it does take quite a bit more than regular skate wax to actually get a ledge to slide. However, if you're using it on something that already has a layer of wax or some coping, then the paraffin works just fine. And of course, if you don't have access to this, then there's always good old-fashioned candles. And candles are great because pretty much everyone has one and they're pretty cheap. But either way, if you happen to not have any access to skate wax, then these are two pretty good alternatives. For number 3, we have shoe goo versus a glue gun. So shoe goo is this awesome stuff that you put on a hole in your shoe, and once it dries, it's pretty much sealed up. But if you don't have any and you need to patch your shoe relatively fast, then a hot glue gun may just do the trick. So the idea here is pretty simple. Just find the hole in your shoe and cover it with glue. And there you're left with a pretty rudimentary patch, but it should hold up at least for a little while. The only downsides to this are it can leave some weird marks on your grip tape, but then again, I'm pretty sure that shoe goo does as well. And also, because it's just some cheap glue, it can come off pretty easily. Another way that you can patch your shoe a little more sturdily is by starting off with the same method of using some glue, but then cutting off a square of an old shoe or other thick material and using it as a patch. Either way, if you don't have access to shoe goo, then this is a great way to temporarily patch your shoe because it's better to have funny looking shoes than holes in your feet. Coming up next, we have a balance board versus a 2-liter. So a balance board is basically some sort of plank on top of a cylinder, and it's used to help increase your balance. These are sold all over the internet, and they're actually really pricey. So a great alternative to this, which only cost about $1, is using an old deck and a 2-liter. Basically, all you need to do is fill up the 2-liter to the brim with water, and then you lay it on its side and put a deck on top. From here, you can use it exactly like a regular balance board and shift your weight up on top and try and balance. So I found that this is a really good alternative, and it works just as well as a real one. And considering the fact that you not only get to work on your balance, but you get some soda out of it too, it's a win-win. Also, I should note that you don't really need an old deck, but any kind of strong piece of wood or plank will work too. But the two main things to note are to make sure that the water bottle is pretty much completely full with no air bubbles, and that whatever you're standing on can hold your weight without breaking. And for bonus points, you can try doing tricks while on the balance board. But apparently I'm really bad at this, and that was not going to happen for me. And for our last alternative, we have grip gum versus a belt sander cleaner. So there's a lot of companies nowadays that make these grip tape cleaners, and it's actually a pretty ingenious product. Basically, it's this weird, gummy, rubbery product that you rub along your grip tape to clean it off. But if for some reason you find yourself prancing around in dirt and then going straight onto your skateboard, you may not have the time for one of these products to ship to you. So an alternative, which is essentially the same product, can be found for a few bucks at your local hardware store. This is a cleaner for a belt sander, And if you consider the fact that sandpaper and grip tape are pretty closely related, then it makes complete sense why this product is used to clean grip tape. All you really have to do is rub it against your grip tape for long enough, and eventually it should get all the junk off and get pretty clean. And an awesome thing about these is that they wear down so little with each use that it should last you a pretty long time. So these were just some skate product alternatives that I've heard about over the years and I decided to try out. And while I probably won't make any of these a go-to and I'll continue just using real skate products, as I said before, these are more for people who don't have the time or money for the real thing. But remember that at the end of the day, it's always great to invest back into the skate community and to support skater-owned companies. So hopefully you found this interesting and maybe you'll try a few out. But either way, just go out there and keep learning, progressing, and having fun. As always, I'd like to thank my Patreon pledgers. And besides that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and you can like and subscribe if you want.